Hello, in this video we're going to go through learning target 322, which is to identify the factors of a polynomial. So to do this we're going to use what's called the factor theorem, and this theorem says if f of k equals 0, then the factor x minus k is a factor. And so essentially what that means is that if you plug a number into your polynomial and you get an answer of 0, then the opposite, the x minus k, is a factor of that polynomial. So if you're given choices like this of what is and is not a factor, then you can find those by plugging in the solution to see. So here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve, and that will tell us what we're going to plug in to our polynomial. Because we don't want to plug in the factor, we want to plug in the solution. And remember, solutions and factors are not the same thing. So to find them, essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to set this equal to 0, and I'll solve to get -4. That's the solution that's related to this factor. Now you'll notice that if it's just a variable and a number, it's always just going to be the opposite of that number. So this one would be +4, +1, -1, and +8. So what you're going to do is you're going to test each of these values by plugging them into your polynomial, and you can just do that all at once in your calculator. So you don't even really have to write anything down. You just want to plug in a -4 everywhere you see an x. So I'm going to start with my 2, parentheses -4. And then to do exponents, you put this little arrow button right here, and then it takes me up to like this exponent bar, and I can put any number I want. So I need to put a 4th power. And then it's important that you hit the right arrow to get out of that little exponent area. So you see, like if I keep typing, it's going to keep typing up there, and I don't want that. So I need to hit the right arrow, and then it'll go back to like regular size. And then I can keep typing. So +8, parentheses -4 to the 3rd, +2, parentheses -4, +8. And you hit equals. And if you get a 0, then that is a factor. So I'm going to go ahead and circle this x plus 4 because this is one of my factors. And it says to circle each, so I'm assuming that there's more than one. So then you're going to keep testing each of these values. So now I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to plug in a +4. So you can retype the whole thing just like you just did, but our calculators also can kind of copy and paste. So if you go up and you're like highlighted over it and you hit enter, it replaces that sentence again, and you can go back and you can change what's in the parentheses. So right now I want a +4. So I'm going to use this delete button to delete the negative. And I'm going to do that for every time I have a -4 inside parentheses. And that one gives me 1040. So I'm just going to write down here. I forgot to write it down here for this first one, but this one equals 0, which is why it's a factor. This one equals 1040, so it's not a factor. And then we're going to keep going. So now I'm going to plug in a +1. Again, I'm going to use this like copy and paste trick by highlighting over it and hitting enter. And then I'm going to go change all these 4s to 1s. And I get an answer of 20. So that means that is not a factor as well. Now we're going to do it for -1. And I don't think -1 will let me use these ones because this only has one space in between the parentheses. So I'm going to go all the way back up to when I had a -4. So the negative is still there. I'm going to use that one and change these to -1s. And I get an answer of 0, which is what I want for it to be a factor. And last one, I just need to try positive 8. And we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, which is not a factor. And that's it. So you just want to try these and then plug them back in to see if they are a factor. The only additional thing that you have to worry about is at the very bottom down here, if your factors have more than one thing happening, you have to actually solve them by setting them equal to 0. So for this first one, for example, I would add 10 to both sides and divide by 2. And that's the number that I would plug in to test. Don't use the opposite, just use this number. This is the number that we plug in to test. And then if this gives you 0, then this is a factor. Okay? So you can go ahead and try these and then use the answer key to check your work.